Hello, everybody. We have got an interesting subject for you today. It's nice to see everyone. Everyone, I have Kitty Hendrix here with me today, and my chin's not being cut off. Is it? Okay, no.
No.
So, full disclosure, I confessed to Kitty at the beginning of this call. Somebody had suggested that I contact Kitty because Kitty is my competition, basically. Because our voices are along the similar line and our interests in strong female protagonists are similar. And I think it's fair to say, I mean, you might, but I'm not out there running after every YA princess role. I'm kind of, I like them hard hitting. I like a thriller. I like a really strong female. And somebody said, well, you should talk to Kitty about this and, you know, a woman's place in the industry and where we go from here and the feedback we get and the different reactions we get. And I thought I'd love to have Kitty on. She's fabulous. I looked at her CV at her website. She's amazing. But let's not talk about that because it'll be like us having a call about like old women talking about old women and poor us, how can we not break into the industry, which really gets on my proverbial nerves. And I'm interested in hearing Kitty has a very refreshing approach to this. And I think it's time that we just speak up. And she also comes from a film and acting background. And that's where it all comes from. That's where the feeling that you have to be forever slim and forever young comes from. So Kitty, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you landed in the audiobook world.
Okay, well, a bit of a long route, but not too much. I grew up in a wonderful place in California, Carmel by the Sea, Carmel Valley. There was tremendous money in the arts in those days. And what I got was, I got into a theater company as an apprentice. I was 10 years old. And I was a little child and I had no idea what I was doing. And all of a sudden, this company came to town and built this huge complex. And they took 4 children and I was trained. Well, after my first summer of doing this, my entire life changed. I was like, the theater to me was my religion. And I learned how to have so many skills and how to deal with people and even the tech stuff. I loved all the tech stuff. I had dance class. I had voice lessons. So anyway, this went on for years. I did theater as I continued, as I got older. I got out of college. I did theater all that time. I got into a theater group that we opened. I had 3 other partners. We opened a theater company, which was the first all women's theater, repertory theater company in the country. We were supported by Ms. Magazine, Gloria Steinem, all these people. So needless to say, not only then at that point was I a theater buff, but I was also a diehard feminist. So I really, out of all that, and that we did a year together, wonderful productions. I directed the only production of Waiting for Godot that it was all women. After that, it was kibosh. They were going to sue us. It did go to a women's prison, which was really exciting. I actually didn't bring it there. My partners did. I was doing something else at the time. But it was, if you know anything about the show, it's about waiting. And when they saw women presented as waiting, that was a really big deal. So anyway, long story short, I come to New York after college.
Did they sue you? Wait, you're skipping over the good bits. Did they?
No, they didn't. They didn't. They sent us a letter to cease and desist because after we did that one production in that women's prison, it got a lot of press. It was very popular. And we could have just been doing that, but that was, didn't happen. But anyway, they were a wonderful company. At that point, I was in my 20s. I was about 23, about 23 or 24. We were all about that age. So I went to LA. I finished my college degree. I worked in a big showbiz restaurant. I thought, oh, this is Hollywood. And it really was Hollywood. It was called Roy's on Sunset Boulevard. It was a private club.
Oh my God.
And, yeah.
Dropped the computer. I got so excited.
we could talk for an hour about that, just that experience, because this is the weirdest story ever. I'm really going to date myself here. But I absolutely did not date anyone I met. And believe me, I met everyone, you know, Michael Jackson, not that I would have dated him, but Barbara Streisand, all these people came in the door. Who do I want to date? I go to my boss, I say, Jerry Rubin walked in the door, and I'm like, I want to date Jerry Rubin. So he's like, okay, yeah, you can go out with Jerry Rubin. So I did. Bitter disappointment. He is nothing like he is presented in Chicago 7. If anybody even knows who Jerry Rubin is, probably not. So anyway, end of that story. So because I had that great job, right, I went to New York. I decided I'm going to New York. I want to become the best cabaret singer that ever lived. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I go there. Needless to I find out that cabaret is like the worst job in the world because you're not going to make any money. Somebody finally took me aside and said, this is the most expensive hobby ever.
Yeah. Hello, burlesque.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
I've got you. I think I should have invested in rhinestones.
Right. Oh my God. You and my daughter, who's a dancer. But anyway, so what happened was, though, I walk in the door of the improvisation. And that is the beginning of I want to tell you, this is the very early days of Saturday Night Live. And Larry David and Robin Williams and all these people. Well, Robin actually had a show, and I actually knew Robin in California because we were in the same theater company at one point.
Wow.
But anyway, so all these amazing people, these amazing comedians. So I go in and I sing, and I get a job as an opening singer for these comedians. And I'm also a waitress to make money. And our pay, the reason why I really wanted to sing there was because not only did I want a little bit of, you know, exposure, but I also got to eat. And that was really exciting. And we got $5 in cab fare. And I didn't have to walk home to my loft, which was through Hell's Kitchen and really scary. So anyway, I was at the Improv for about 2 years. And then I got kind of tired of the Improv because the comedians would come up to me and say, you can't do anything serious because you're going to, you know, they don't want you to turn the room, you know, they don't want you to bring anybody down. So anyway, so I did that. And then I started working for Ellie Stone and Eric Blau. Ellie Stone, I don't know if you know who she was. She died last year. I'm very sad about that. She was my mentor and my dear, dear friend for over 40 years. She, I really am dating myself now. I did concert work with her. And she really was the one who was instrumental in teaching me how to use my voice. I had no idea. I had no clue. I thought I was a big shot and I could belt my way out of anything, but I had no clue how to breathe. So she was the one who taught me. And she also taught me many other things, like if you're going to go on stage and you know you have to hit a high C, you better warm up to that place that's above it. And you better know you have that note that's above that high C. So you're not sitting there sweating that you're going to make that note. And years later, when I got into audiobooks, she said to me, so do you still think about some of the things I told you? And she said, what about the emotional context of hitting that high C? And I said, wow, that kind of just like opened up everything for me. I thought, okay, you go into your booth and you're going to do an action scene, or you're going to do someone dies, or you better emotionally be prepared to be at that place that's above it, because then you can always hit it. You always know you have it. So anyway, that was that. I'm
jealous because I've always wished I had a singing background. I'm a little afraid of singing. I'm jealous of that.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that I use my vocal training as heavily as I do my acting training. So anyway, oh my God. So I did that for many years. I decided I wanted to quit show business, which I did for a number of years, and became an interior designer. I raised a daughter who became a dancer and choreographer and wanted to go to professional performing arts in New York. So we went back to New York. And when I was in New York, I ran into all of my theater friends again. And they're all like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, you know, I'm too old. And they're like, no, there's background work. There's this, there's that. Background work got me into independent films, which got me into lead roles in independent films. And I loved it. But hooking to the conversation you and I had earlier.
Yes.
I realized there was I had gotten back into the industry when I was at the very top age of the only roles I was getting were alcoholic, milfy, women who were chasing young guys. Okay. Those were my parts.
I got called a cougar once. I was horrified.
Cougar.
And I was really young to me.
Cougar. Matter of fact, my last theater audition was for Cougar the Musical. Okay. So let's just, I got really frustrated with that. Yeah. So I quit all that and I opened another theater company, and I did that for a year. And we were starting to get going, but there were disagreements about how we wanted to run it. And of course, this is New York City, and it's insanely expensive to do theater in New York City. So I was getting very discouraged. And I read about Johnny Heller. And I read this little thing that he was going to do, this little class at, I don't remember the name of the place. It was a little hole in the wall. And I go there, and there's me and like 5 or 6 other people, and Johnny's so Johnny. And so after the class, I said to him, well, would you be willing to do a demo for me? And he said, sure. And I paid him, of course, but he helped me with it, coached me through it and everything, put it up on ACX. This is in 2013. The next day I had 3 offers. I was like, whoa, wow. I don't even know how to produce an audiobook. I mean, I had no idea. I had a little bit of a cobbled together studio in my closet, but I was living on 45th Street in Hell's Kitchen, right in the theater district with big buses that went all day long. So my sound really sucked. So anyway, long story short, from that point on, it was really a constant moving around in different spaces and trying to find how to use my resources to become the best audiobook narrator I could become. And that's where we are today.
So before we get to the other subject, I'm curious, what did you, from the journey from when you started being an audiobook narrator to now, what would you say has changed, or you've changed the most, realized, or?
There's a lot. But I would say the most important one is understanding the deep connection that you have between you and your listener. And when I say that, I'm talking about, I started as a child with a huge voice and a huge presence. Then in film and television, I had to bring it in, right? Audiobooks, you have to bring it into such a tiny place. Yeah. And you have to stay there. And you can't bounce all over the place. And I would say that the biggest problem I have, or the biggest, the hardest work I do, is controlling the through line in all of my books, so that they're not what I would call wonky. They're not all over the place. And I don't mean just really, but I mean really just the way I'm telling the story.
So you're the steady voice.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to an audiobook, like you might be listening 5 nights in a row before you go to bed. Well, I know I do. And you want to hear that steady voice continuing the story. You don't care if they had drama on Tuesday in between recording hour 1 and hour 2.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's just keeping that tempo, keeping that, also keeping up the fact that, maybe I established 2 different characters that have different tempos, and keeping that solid through the whole book.
What about mindset? What about your mindset? What about keeping a steady? Are you good with keeping your emotions steady and fine and not letting anything distract you or get in the way?
Oh yeah, I am really good at that. But I think that's my theater training. Yeah, because I really did learn how to shut off everything for the duration that I was in a play. Yeah, and then I would walk off stage and go, "Oh my God!" Ah. But before that, like I'm divorcing my husband. But before that, it was. I have that capability. Like when I'm in my booth, that is one thing that I learned. Once I put together a booth that I loved, I was like, this is home. This is my little theater. Yeah. This is the way I used to feel in the theater when I was a little child. And I would sit in that theater in the dark, and they would be setting the lights, and they'd be dropping hammers in the back, and they'd
before it starts, right?
Yeah.
Right. And that moment is the most magical. And you know what? I had somebody, I was so offended. I had someone tell me that because I wasn't like sick and upset and stressed, and that I enjoyed that bit, that I was
Yeah.
obviously not a real actor, because
Wow.
real actors own it so much that they get nervous and I love the moment before it
Yes.
starts.
Oh, absolutely. It's like jumping off a high dive.
Yeah.
It's like there's and also there's so many parts to audiobooks, and there also were so many parts in the theater. There's so many things that have to happen simultaneously. You know, we do have to keep healthy voices. If I have a long haul, I'm going to do I'm not going to have like 3 glasses of wine before I go to bed, because it's going to dry me out and I'm going to have a horrible voice the next day. You know, it's like different things, but there's a lot of other stuff that you have to keep in mind. And I actually like, when I'm going to do a book, I know I try to only work on one book at a time. I really don't like to go back and forth. I mean, yes, you have, pickups. That's fine. But it's just, I like to keep it's like the way I did always approach theater and doing acting in theater. So I think that's it. What else?
So let's talk ageism.
Yeah. Ageism. Okay. I really want to talk.
And women, because those, they intersect, and I'll start with, I want to do suspense and thrillers. I do suspense and thrillers. I realized for the first time the next like 3 months are booked with all books that I love. So I can't complain. Right. I know it won't be like that forever. I'll probably have a moment where I'm dying, after
Easter famine. Yeah.
But that's what I want to do. That's what I listen to. Linwood Barclay. I love it. I love the grit and the American suburban thrillers where I don't know, the girl wakes up, the whole family's missing, and you spend so I don't want to be told that I should do comfy, cozy mysteries, or nothing wrong with them. I'll do them, but I don't want to be pigeonholed, because I'm sorry, they're not going to pigeonhole a male narrator that will have a voice the same age as mine. They're not going to pigeonhole him for those kind of books. You want a woman with gravitas in her voice to narrate those books. So what's the deal?
Well, it's really interesting, because what drew me to audiobooks, and it's changed actually, things have gotten much more subtle, but I loved Katie Kellgren, who sadly, I just broke my heart that she died so young. And, I mean, I liked these narrators who did these big characters, Barbara Rosenblatt. I liked the big characters, but I also recognize that you're not going to get every book like that.
Yeah.
And so you've got to kind of, maintain, how are you going to approach, keeping it interesting, but not blowing all your stuff out at once, this is what I learned about doing thrillers. It's like there's a lot of action. Okay. And so the thing that people like about men doing so many books is that they have what they call gravitas. There's a foundation to their voices. Okay. There's a bottom to their voices, but there's no reason on earth, I hear it in your voice. There's no reason in earth why we can't also have that foundation in our voices. And then maybe above it is just a little lighter, but maybe, make that be where your voice sits. And so I will tell you an incredible thing that happened to me. And it's such a small thing, but I was so thrilled. I got this book that was about coaching, and it was written by 2 men. And it was, I got it from Tantor for like 6 months before I ever was going to do it. And I'm like, why did they give me this book? And I thought, man, and then I started doing it, and I'm like, I had to do all these men's voices. And it was all about, it was a man's idea of coaching, and and it was all so male. And I was like, this is insane. I'm going to get hammered on this book. Well, lo and behold, I have gotten all positive reviews and all 5 stars, and at least 2 people who said, I would listen to this book over and over. Not one person said, why did a woman record this book?
That's what happened with Frankenstein for me.
There you go.
Stephen Cohen had to talk me into it, because I was afraid I would be like, just run over the coals. But
you can't be afraid of that. That's what I'm saying. You cannot be afraid. I don't think there's any man who approaches audiobooks and says, oh, wow, somebody's going to think I'm wrong for this book because I don't do the women's voices right. Right. But how many women are going to think that about doing audiobooks when they think about the men's voices?
But you see, this is when you're doing auditions, you've got control over what you audition for. But when you're looking for publisher work, how do you get it in the publisher's heads to consider you? Because, and the other thing is they book men for thrillers with strong female protagonists, like all the time.
I'll tell you what you do. And I don't know if I said this or not to you. I think I said it when we were in earlier conversation. One of the reasons why I do a lot of the public domain books that I do is because I pick the kinds of books that I would never be cast for. And so interestingly enough, and I had no idea that they gave, that my publisher gave this author this sample. Yeah. But I did a sci-fi. It was Isaac Asimov. It was youth. It was two little boys talking. And they gave that author that sample, and I just booked a series because of it. So I had no idea that these publishers are passing around, the samples of the books that I produced myself. But I also know that the books that I produce myself I take a lot of risks with those books.
That's smart. That's very smart.
And you have the opportunity, and I cannot tout working with Spoken Realms highly enough, because I'm not sure if this is the absolute truth, but I'm pretty sure it is. I think I was the first self-produced audiobook that was nominated for an Audie when I did Daisy Miller, Henry James in 2018. And it was a riot because I sat there at the Audies, and here, there are books by Simon Vance and Juliet Stevenson. It was in literary fiction and classics. And there's a laundry list of names of people that they did this book with. And here's mine, Kitty Hendrix, just my name, and Spoken Realms. And it was like so ridiculous because I mastered that book. I did the cover. I did all of it. I didn't know it was going to go anywhere. Yeah. But when I saw that story, I loved it so much. The main character of Daisy Miller, I just heard Scarlett Johansson's voice. And I was like, I get to be Scarlett Johansson because she would tell this story. She would be this character.
And we had the call with Jim Moore. That's the stream that goes through people that do those public domain books.
Yes.
It's like me with the Scarlet Letter. It's my book. I own it.
Yes. But you can get a lot of mileage out of doing those books. And also, I didn't have a lot of books. I wasn't getting cast in anything really very interesting. So I built up, F. Scott Fitzgerald and, all these great writers. And out of that, I got Main Street, which took me a year to produce because I did it in between. I got that from Post Hypnotic Press, who is Carlin Craig, who is the most wonderful. If you look at her library, she produces some of the most incredible books. And she really believed I was going to do it for free. I was going to produce it myself. And she found out and she said, I have a sneaking suspicion that this book is going to go somewhere. I'm going to do a print edition. And she got two scholars about Sinclair Lewis to write things in the book. And that book got me so much mileage. In 2020, it became the one of the top 10 books in May for AudioFile magazine. They did a show about me and for LitHub.
Wow. And did you have to submit yourself for all these things, or did the book just draw attention?
The book just I left it up to Carlin. Carlin ended up offering to pay me to do the book. And it wasn't a cheap book for her to pay me for. And she even came to my studio. She's in Canada. She came here in New York, and we spent 3 or 4 days, basically curating the book. And I found chapters that I didn't like. It took me a really long time to record this book because I was doing it in between other projects. And so there were a lot of pieces that didn't fit together. So in the end of it, I re-recorded probably maybe a quarter of the book again And then I didn't think anything of it. You know, I was happy to get paid for it. It was a great experience. Sinclair Lewis is a fabulous writer. It had way more men in it than women. There were 22 main roles, and about 18 of them are men. So, you know, and they were all Midwestern men with the same backgrounds. So that was not easy. So I really went with tempos. I learned so much doing that book. And so that's what I'm saying. Public domain books are free. You can do them through Spoken Realms. You can even do your own cover art, you know, which I know Jim Moore does.
I love doing cover. It's the best part.
Yeah.
But but you see, when you're talking, I can see, I think the answer is in between. The answer to the question that I always wonder about is in between your words and the feeling of what you're saying. Because I'm thinking, I'm thinking I do the work, I do the public domain. How can I get these people to take me seriously? That's the underlying current on my bad days, on a bad day. Right. Why I don't feel like, you know, I'm getting the opportunity, but you are going back to your acting roots, and you're not even thinking about the outside reaction to what you're doing. You're thinking about your inside love. You're looking at the project from the inside out, which is so
I
key.
believe I will preface all of this by saying I am the luckiest person alive, because I started audiobooks when I wasn't putting a child through college. I wasn't supporting a family of 5. I actually, you know, went into audiobooks, you know, yes, I like the money and it's great. And I love doing things with it, but I'm not desperate for it. So I can turn books down. I can turn down things that I don't want in my library. And I'm very lucky. Okay. So I will preface this whole thing by saying that. But the other thing is, when I go for a project that I want to do, I pick something that's way beyond, it's scary, you know, do something scary, do something challenging. Okay, I'll tell you something I'm doing right now. I don't know how, but APA picked me to be in the mentorship program. And if anybody,
congratulations.
Yes, thank you. It's their first one. And I have the most wonderful mentee, Malika Cooper. She is actually has a background in journalism. Oh, wow. And she has a wonderful voice, and she's only done a few books. So she's African-American. And I am very excited, first of all, of, you know, Black narrators. Finally, people woke up. I mean, this is why I think it's going to work for women too. They finally woke up and said, oh, wow, you know, maybe we should have Black actors narrate this, or maybe we should have,
things are changing.
Asian
things are
actors.
Changing. People are, but they're changing. But I hope I feel like the female of a certain age suddenly becoming invisible thing,
right,
is still acceptable. That's still okay.
Yeah, but it's you don't have to actually approach it that way. You can really approach it in a way that you're neutral. You know, I really feel like I have to go to this neutral space because in my strongest years of feminism, I think it got in my way a lot of times. I think it was a filter that didn't always work for me as an artist. Okay. That's probably going to be a really controversial thing to say, because in my head, intellectually, I believe very strongly that women should have certain rights and that they've been shit on a lot. Okay.
Actually, that's actually controversial though. But if you think about too much, if you get a symptom and you're sick and you think too much about it and you're focused on it, like weight loss, if you focus on food, you become obsessed. That's what you think about. I was in a corporate company for 9 years. I managed the largest team in that frigging company.
Right.
Myself, successfully, with great reviews for years. And every time I'd be in a big meeting, I would feel like they wanted me to toddle off and get the tea. And it was in my mind. So was I creating part of the problem by focusing on it?
Or even if they had asked you to go get the tea, would you have accepted that? That's the thing.
Yeah, I would have
the
stomped
difference.
my foot. I stomped my feet quite a lot.
The
in that
difference
job.
is how far are you willing to go to be this neutral narrator that can do things that are not female or male? You know, one of the things that's so interesting, my husband worked for many years. He ran a political organization in New York. I mean, in Washington, D.C., progressive left-wing organization. I got to go to the White House Christmas parties
Oh,
2 years
wow.
in a row with the Obamas. That was pretty exciting. But long story short, he would get on the phone. And one of the reasons why I fell in love with him was because I could never tell whether he was talking to a man or a woman. And I was like, how many times have you listened to a conversation, a woman talking to a man or a man talking to a woman and said, oh, that's a woman he's talking to, or that's a man I could never tell. I never knew, because he was neutral about sexuality, about women, about, you know, and women loved working with him, by the way, because he never once looked at them and said, oh, honey, you know, it was never like, oh, sweetheart, you know, he never talked down to anyone. So I thought that was really interesting. But getting back to the mentorship thing, I was going to say,
Sorry.
No. It's just a quick story. I got picked for this and I was like, I freaked out because I'm the rookie in the group. Believe me, the people that are the mentors in this group are really have paid their dues. They're amazing. And so I'm like, wow, I don't even know why they picked me. But if anybody has a chance to become a mentee in that program too, or a mentor, great experience. But anyway, what happened was I really thought about it. And I thought, you know what I'd like to do? I think I want to help her because Malika has a background in, she's very entrepreneurial in the way she approaches things. Mm-hmm. And so I said, we're going to do a book. We're going to do start to finish. And I found Gertrude Stein, 3 Lives. Okay. The middle story is about an African-American woman who is actually very strong, but you know how these books are written in the 20s, or this was really even before that, very racist if you listen to it now. So the first thing I did was I said, okay, this is going to be scary. It's going to be hard. But the first thing I want you to do, because I am going to write a thing in the beginning that this is an adaptation for maybe a YA audience or something, I said, go through the story and take out or make a note of the things that make you really uncomfortable and that you feel would take the listener away, but keep the things that you think are the flavor of the times. Well, when she first started, she started taking a lot of stuff out, but then she said, you know what? I went back and read it. And she said, there are ways of saying these things to show the irony of it. So this is what I'm saying too. There's a lot of irony in audiobook narration, and especially in being a woman in audiobooks. There are ways that you can, in romance, where the man says these incredibly sexist things, but you can have that character say it in a way that's almost like absurd, where the woman is like, you know, we have the opportunity to tilt the conversation.
And do you find, I found it astounding how much I really got to know myself once I started narrating, because the things that I thought I wouldn't do, I had no problem at all. And the things that I didn't even consider would be a problem, absolutely hated when I went in and tried to do it. And they aren't the things you would expect. I mean, I've got no problem with some of the interesting pseudonym subjects.
Right.
But don't hurt an animal, because
oh, you need to have a bottom line. You definitely need to have a bottom line. And I don't know about you, but I have a pseudonym. Do you have a pseudonym?
Yeah.
Okay. My pseudonym is not because I am squeamish about romance erotica, which I never get anyway, because they say I'm too bitchy, but I think is a riot. I did my first book ever was romance erotica, and it was a series, and the author took it away from me because she said, well, you know, my listeners think that you're talking down to them, because, you know, I cannot stand the idea of women being victims. And in this particular story, this woman was raped like repeatedly and loved it. And I was like, what? You know, so, you know, there was a little bit of a thing in my voice. But
I mean,
anyway,
I've done them, but the thing is like I came off of a 4-year stint doing burlesque. So I just kind of like, I
yeah,
just don't care anymore. The only reason I use a pseudonym is because I don't want them messing up my portfolio.
right. And I use a
Yeah.
pseudonym. Do you know what? I have one book that was very conservative, right wing. It was written by a woman about the stock market. I got offered the book. It was a good book. It was well written. I liked it. It was long. I was going to make some money. And I looked at it and I said, I actually can't put my name on this book. I can't do it. I can't. The interesting thing was, so I used a pseudonym. I used that too. And what happened was, I don't know, she was still writing the book. It took I literally got this thing 10 minutes before I started recording it, because things were changing in the government at that time. And she took out a lot of the stuff that I didn't like. So actually I didn't need to use the pseudonym, but I do it for political things. Not
yeah,
that
I got offered a book telling people the dangers of the vaccine.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you
Sorry.
go. Yeah.
Not only that, but like,
yeah.
If I could find a way to make sure nobody else gets to do it either, I would.
Yeah. And, there's certain things that I just really, I don't want to be I hope people don't think I'm a prude or a snob but there's certain things that I just don't see the value in people, absorbing some of the books that are out there, which is why I don't do a lot of ACX books anymore. I hate to say it, but I just,
the thing is, I think it's key to being a narrator, and it's fascinating to me. The people that hold on and that fall in love with this craft and keep on with this job, you come face to face with who you are.
Yes.
You come face to face with every belief you've ever been fed. I was raised in a family of a certain religion. I won't say it. I've done a couple of books from that religion. I'm now not that religion ever. Like I wasn't ever really, but I always kind of like, my parents, but now, no, right? Because, but you learn through each book we do, we're learning.
Do we learn?
We
learn so much.
And I did a book on dominatrix, where the men put the women on leashes and all that.
Yes.
And the thing is, every single thing in me was like, you're gonna let him talk to you like that? Are you serious?
Right.
And I'm trying every acting muscle in my body to like give the characters respect. But I did a couple of books for that author, and the people they're massive fans, and and it's a whole subculture.
They'll sell.
They love it. The culture loves what they're doing. So who am I to judge what they're doing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if you're, use your pseudonym, and if you're going to get royalty share on a book like that, you're probably going to make some money. But, I just can't go for it. But, who knows? Maybe there are really, really well-known authors that I would find hard to do some of their stuff. I did a book called At the End of Life, which was written by Lee Gutkin, which was all about death and hospice care. And I did it with Al Kessel. He did the male ones, but I had the majority of the stories. And they were really at certain points, I had to stop, and I just would sob. It was so hard. It was gut-wrenching to do that book. But I will say, like parents who were talking about their children who were dying, or that they did just die. And it was all, Lee Gutkin went around and interviewed people, and they were from real stories by real people, real interviews about death. And what made it even worse was my mother was dying in Arizona, and I'm in the middle of doing this book, and I fly out there to a hospice and with my sister. So it was a really weird time in my life. This was in 2019. But anyway,
can I just say my father passed away in 2018, and I worked through it. I brought my equipment. I worked the day of the funeral and everything. And when I look back at that book, I had to do so many takes. because
Really?
I just,
Yeah.
there's some things you just
Yeah.
don't work through.
Yeah.
You just, it's but you want to, because you want to take your mind off things.
Right. And hopefully in your case, it was a book that was kind of, could keep you from focusing on what that was. It was distracting.
Yeah, until the main character.
This book wasn't distracting. Oh, God.
Yeah, but it's in life. And do you find that your books reflect your life and your life reflect? I mean, do you find that ever like a Daniel Day-Lewis thing? Like it affects my mood. It colors the time that I'm marking it up. It colors that time of your life. And it always ends up bringing up something that happened to have been like happening in your life.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But we have to do that. I mean, that's our work. Unfortunately, or fortunately, as actors,
we live on the edge of everyone else.
There's a point of view, but we have to bring our point of view to that point of view.
Our job is helping other people face the things that other people might not be ready to face.
That's right. And that's why, going back to the intimacy of audiobooks, and that's why I really value what we do so much. It is such a powerful craft that we do, because we do share so much such intimate moments with people. I mean, how many times have you listened to an audiobook where you've just been, sobbing, it's like, or some big thing about it that just, took your breath away. And I've
had audiobooks save me some of the worst times of my life. And I put the audiobook on to go to sleep.
Yes. And it's because we can have that intimate moment, that intimacy with just a voice speaking to us. And there's no, and I love it that there's no visual. And, of course, I was that person that was so sad when they started putting videos of music on television, because I was like, no, that's not the way I see it at all. But there's such a finite intimacy. And that's the thing you have to honor as an audiobook narrator. You have to honor that intimacy, that whatever is coming out of your mouth, that person's going to trust. Maybe they are going to be kind of between sleeping and awaking. It's going to go right into their subconscious, But
has anyone ever told you that you have, and I like it, I've had it, but I blame being a Gemini, right? Comes and goes.
My husband's a Gemini. I totally get that. Okay.
So, but like I've touched on it, but I would love to be like this all the time. It seems like the answer is it's coming from inside you. You seem to have a very, very strong core of who you are.
I do.
Do you work on it? Were you born with it? Do you meditate?
I was born with it.
You were born
I was born with it because I lived a very strange life as a child, and I had to be very strong. I'm not going to go into the details, but I had to be when I say the theater saved me, it saved me. I came from a not a great home life, very, very unstable. And I was out on my own. I moved out before I even graduated high school. And also as a child, my dad was in the military. So I went to 9 elementary schools before 6th grade.
And that's right there what I see. And it's coming right off the screen. Your home is inside you.
Yeah, it is. And it always has been. And reading was actually the thing that was my best friend. I was a readaholic. I always had a book with me. I was always studying something. I was always, involved in something that I could learn more and make myself stronger and build better resources and learn more. And so I have always been that person. And I'm very, very lucky because, even people in my family, struggled terribly because of the things that went on. And, they just didn't build that strength inside of themselves that I did. But like I said, I was young and I was lucky.
But I wonder if, I've been thinking a lot about this, right? Mm-hmm. Because as I said, I have times where I'm supremely confident, and then I have times where I'm like, oh my God, I'm a crazy person. What the hell am I doing?
I think we all do.
But that's just being a Gemini, whatever. And
Yeah.
Mercurial, I like to think of it as.
Yes, you
But
are Mercurial if you're a Gemini. Yes, you
every day we wake up
are.
and we decide who we're going to be that day. And all
Yes.
the narrators that come to me, so many narrators come to me all the time, and they say, I'm afraid to submit to publishers. You see the proven track record. You know, we all
Right.
know by now the steps
Right.
we have to take to succeed in this business.
Right.
You post
Right.
about yourself online. You have a presence. You send to production companies. Then when you're ready to publishers, you stop obsessing over every single sentence and going
Right.
back. So to
Right.
me, you know what you have to do.
Right.
And every day we wake up, you made a decision. You say you're very lucky, but I think you continue to make that decision every day of your life to be grateful and to think of yourself as lucky. I think every morning we
Yes.
wake up, we get a choice.
Yes.
Do we want to drag the past with us?
Right.
Or do we want to choose who we're going to
Right.
be today?
Right. Right.
Because every single thing you say, it's action oriented, and it's, I'm this
Oh,
way. I choose to
thanks.
be this
This is
way.
very affirming to me. Thank
Think
you.
about
It's
it.
very sweet
You
of you.
choose the way you look at life.
I
You're
do.
choosing it.
I always say this to my husband. He gets really frustrated because he doesn't know what to do with himself right now. He's had a very successful career. He's not ready to retire, and he's very frustrated. And I just keep saying, don't forget, you always can choose. You can choose the little things or you can choose the really big stuff, but you always have a choice. And I just feel like, you know, again, like I said, I try to do things that are a little bit scary, you know. I try to go a little bit beyond what I think, you know, I'm actually, you know, I don't let myself have boundaries very much. But I mean, there are things I've really failed at, and I'm not going to lie about that. But again, you know, yeah, maybe I'll feel really bad for a month, but I'll just pick myself up and say, well, that was bad. You know, that sucked, you know, and
but it's
you just go
internal.
on.
It's a conversation. Again, it goes back to, you wake up, I'm going to do something that's scary to me. I'm going to push myself. It's like you're in the game with yourself. You're competing against yourself. I love that. I love that.
My daughter, who's a dancer and a choreographer, all her life, she loved dance. And I told her, if this is your passion, find a way to make a living at it. And she was very little, and she did. And I'm so proud of her. But the one thing I see in her is that she really does. She's the pilot of her own ship. And the hard thing was I was really this dance mom, you know, the show Dance Mom. Well, they do exist. I was one. But the long story of it is that I let her go. And that was a hard transition for both of us. And it was a very difficult time in both our lives. But I'm glad I did. And she really is her own person now. And she really runs the show. And I'm so proud of her. And I think, well, there's a reason to be the person that I am. But like my husband says, oh, Kitty, you don't suffer fools. And I don't. I tend to not like to have my time wasted. I don't run in packs. Okay. I have certain philosophies. Okay. I used to tell my daughter two things. This probably shouldn't even be on here. That women generally run in packs. They do. If something's wrong, they won't deal with their husband. They'll go tell their girlfriends. I never did that.
Which is weird to me. Because your husband.
Or whatever. Or if you have a friend at work, say you're having a problem with somebody at work, you would go and have wine with your girlfriends and say, oh, well, you know what he said now.
But they say that that's society, because society never gave women voices. So women don't feel that they can speak up to the person. So to me, that's out of fear and insecurity. And why would I want to be friends with somebody that's weak and insecure?
Right. I mean, I don't mind that women have packs of friends, but don't use them to buffer your, you know, the things that you should be dealing with.
Don't say something to them that you wouldn't say to the person's face.
And the other thing I always told my daughter is sex is not currency. That's what I used to tell her too. Sex is not currency. It will not buy you anything. It should not buy you anything. And if you want to go through life and somebody thinks you're hot and you think they're rich and you're going to sleep with them, you're going to end up with a bad life because that's not going to be, and then women turn around and go, wow, he dumped me. I don't understand it. Well, because, you spent,
Yeah. Ironically, I spent my entire life treating myself as a commodity by trying to lose weight and gain weight and lose weight and be the perfect person. And then when I joined burlesque, that taught me the lesson, because in burlesque, the beauty was in everything. It didn't matter what someone weighed.
London? Did you go to London?
Yeah, I performed at Madame Jojo's. It's like the thing I brag about more than anything in the world. Burlesque was,
I think it's fabulous.
It was boys, it was girls, we were the freaks in the best possible way.
Right.
It was beauty in everything.
I think that
love yourself and stick the damn rhinestones on and put the makeup on and smile. And it was come to the cabaret
and really move to the music and really be aware of your audience.
Yeah.
So did you train for it or did you just do it?
Yeah. I went to burlesque school. Actually, one of the teachers is going to be on a joke call soon. I won't give away any spoilers.
Okay.
Because I'm enraptured by people that make their own rules. People that say, this is what beauty is.
Yeah.
This is what it is for me. Well, and I spent a lot of time trying to fit in, which I knew better, and I railed against it and I screamed and shouted, but I still did it.
Right.
Still tried, still dieted and
certain rules. Don't watch reality TV. Don't read magazines. Don't, it's like, well, we used to call it Madison Avenue. I don't know where advertising is now or anything, but we were fed, we've been spoon fed these images for so long that this anorexic girl with clothes hanging off of her is sexier than a full-bodied woman.
Yeah.
And we've been fed that. If we turned it around, it's the same with racism. It's a form of racism. It actually is a form of racism. We've been taught so many racist things, and I think it will change. I think things are changing. I think things are. I think that people's ideas of beauty are changing,
and on one hand, I feel sorry for the millennials, because every generation feels sorry for the other generation because they don't have what we had.
Right.
But on the other hand, they're not going to put up with this. But then on the other hand, why are they on there photoshopping themselves constantly so they look exactly alike?
Well, this is the really sad thing that's happened, is that our phones and our our video selves have become more real than we are. It's like even I fell prey. I have a new little grandson who's so friggin' cute. I want to just
congratulations.
Eat him up. Oh, thanks. He's 14 months old now, and he's so cute. His name is Daxton, and he's a doll. But when she, he does so many cute things, and I just want to plaster it all over, I want to plaster it all over social media. My daughter put her foot down. She said, no, I don't want him growing up, seeing him, knowing that he's on social media and things showing up. And I want his childhood to be a childhood. I don't want to prove that he was so cute at 14 months, whatever.
Do you know what you should do instead? One of my writers did this, and I thought it was the cutest idea. She created an email account for her grandchild when she was a baby. Yeah. And she would send, anytime she did something cute, she'd send an email saying, oh, you're such and such age now. And she'd send photos so that when she's old enough, she'll give her the email address.
Yeah, we have that. We share, there's like 10 of us who share like all the photos and all the videos and all that. But, I just saw him last weekend, so I hadn't seen him for a really long time because of COVID, but he's a doll. He is a funny guy. But the thing is, it made me realize that you really, as a parent now and as a millennial, decide. You have to draw the line. You have to say, I am not going to spend my life looking at myself, you know? And sometimes I get really mad at my daughter. I'm like, can't I just post this? It's so cute. She's like, no, you cannot. You cannot. And I'm like, later on, I'm like, she's right. She's totally right. You know, like who is this? Who knows? I mean, even though I have a friend setting on Facebook, I don't know who's going to see those pictures and, you know, share that with somebody publicly, and then it's going to be.
But it's also protecting what we were talking about earlier, living your life from the inside out, rather than living your life and showing it to people. It's living your life and holding those moments and appreciating them. I think we've lost that now in large part.
I agree. And I think more and more children and people are being raised, which is, you know, to not understand how to capture that, not know how to understand how to bring that to themselves and to strengthen it. But, you know, interestingly enough, because of the intimacy of audiobooks, I actually think that audiobooks can help do that. I think audiobooks can actually help, you know, strengthen, you know, people's sense of who they are by listening to a lot.
It's what our last Ellie Ray said. It's going back to our ancestors sitting around the fire, connecting through stories.
Yeah, through stories.
We're connecting through stories. Yeah. You know, their narrators have saved my life at times, been there at the right time.
Right. So there is a little distance, so you can put yourself into the story, but it's not like social media where the judgment is gone. Yeah. You know, you're not judging yourself by absorbing information.
No, you're giving a gift.
Yeah. But when you're on social media, the judgment just doesn't stop, you know, like I'm sure I'll look at this video that we're doing right here and I'm going to go, oh God, my hair looks like shit. Oh God, I see that line. I've been trying to get rid of that. Oh,
you know
God.
What? Do you know the way to get over that? Sign yourself up for 2 calls a week for a year on YouTube without realizing that meant you actually had to get dressed and show up.
Right.
Now I just don't care anymore.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. It's like I haven't put makeup on in probably a month or even done anything with my hair. I mean, it's like I get up, I put on sweats and I throw my hair up and I come into my booth and, you know, that's it.
I don't miss it. I like to think the cobbled together hairstyle is it's the new look.
It is, especially after COVID. I mean, I am really looking forward to seeing what kinds of changes culturally we actually will experience because of COVID. Maybe, you know, I mean, when it first started happening, I said, well, oh, wow, everybody's doing mindfulness all at once. We're all quarantined now. We all have to just think about ourselves and our own thoughts and see what happens. I'm not sure that happened, but maybe. No. Everybody just got on social media and judged each other.
I have to be honest, I'm living my best life. I am. Yeah, I get to do a job I love. I don't have to go out and deal with bothersome. I never understood, like, any job I've had to get has been like taking me away from the things I wanted to do. Like I was the kid that would like say I was sick so I could stay home and read, you know, and watch TV. So I didn't understand like why you would want to go, you know, so now I get all the friends I want anytime I want on Zoom.
Right.
From like the coolest industries doing the coolest things. And
I know.
Why would I want to go stand around a water cooler with a bunch of people I have nothing in common with?
Yeah, no, I mean, you can, you know, I mean, that was the reason why finally, when I got rid of my theater company, I ran into a Broadway producer, and she said, why are you not doing theater? I said, it's too site specific. It's like, you know, no matter how hard I work, I'm only going to have like, you know, 100 people watch what I did. But when you do an audiobook, I mean, I have reviews from people in New Zealand and Australia and, you know, God knows where, China, you know.
I miss theater. I do miss theater, but the self-consciousness and the weight thing, I would like starve myself before a play. even if the character didn't suit. I would literally stop eating. I would eat like carrots for like the whole rehearsal period.
That's not good.
You know? So that self-consciousness, I don't miss that.
That was my daughter in ballet. My daughter was a ballet dancer, and she's very, very short and very muscular. And so her last company that she danced with, they were weighing her, and I didn't know it. She was 16, and they were weighing her every day, and she was starving herself, and she's all muscle, and she's very, you know, very tiny and wonderful dancer, but didn't fit, you know, the ballet, you know.
Yeah.
And I finally, that's when I pulled her out of the ballet company, and I insisted that she go to Alvin Ailey. And you do not know the fight we had. And she went to Alvin Ailey, and she hated every second of it. But at the end of it, she realized that a muscular body on a woman can dance as well as a ballerina. And, you know, it was just a whole different mindset. And it changed her as a choreographer. That's when she became a choreographer more than a dancer.
Yeah, because there's another form of body. I watched Gina Rogers dance. I don't know if anybody's seen the Just Keep Dancing.
Yeah.
She's an athlete. I mean, she's an amazing athlete.
Now ballet dancers are starting to be more athletic and more have muscles, and, you know, I mean, there have been breakthroughs, not a lot, but a few. You know, Misty Copeland, who danced actually at Joffrey when Danielle was there. She came in for a while. But the thing is, it was set by the Balanchine standard in ballet. And they're anorexic, you know, 7 feet tall, arms and legs up to the ceiling, you know, that no muscle. That was the look. That was what everybody wanted. But
it's so funny because we've come full circle.
Yes.
Full circle to the entire theme of the call. And none of this matters if we're just keep going back to the work we love every day.
Absolutely.
And do what you do and talk to ourselves in a way that's empowering. Every day, starting fresh.
Yeah.
Except,
I mean, I have so much, audiobook narrators, to me, all of us, and it's why it's such a wonderful community. We are such people. We are such human beings, because we do go into solitary confinement on a regular basis and dig through our guts and try to come up with the best we can do. And there's
it's brave.
Lot. It's very brave.
Brave choice to make this.
And it's also, we give a gift. And that is something that I am so proud to be a part of. I mean, I want to cry right now when I think about it, but I honestly feel that there is so much value to what we do and who we are and how hard we have to work at it.
And it comes from love, because nobody grew up thinking they'd become it. Half the people in the world are just barely learning about it. So the people that are becoming audiobook narrators are doing it because somebody touched them with a story at some point. And during COVID, agents are saying to people, go get an audiobook, it'll be great. But unless you fall in love with it, you're not going to hang on anyway. So
I have so many, in closing, because I look at it at the time, I have so many actor friends who are big Broadway stars who tried to do audiobooks and they couldn't do it. Not because they didn't have an engineer and Penguin Random House didn't hire them or blah, blah, blah. They were like, I don't know how you do this. This was so stressful. There's nobody there.
You either love it or you don't. You're either it's just. So I'm going to give you, because you're right, we are coming to that time. Can I please ask you, Kitty? For the people that are going to watch this YouTube video in 60, 70 years, what final words of wisdom would you like to leave them with?
60 or 70 years. Be true to yourself. Just be true to yourself. Because you know what? If you lie, people are going to know anyway. They're going to tell. So, you know, look at that book, look at the point of view of that character or the point of view of that author, and dig into your gut and find something that matches that and go with it. That's all I can say.
Love it. Love it. Well, Stephen J. Cohen said that I would love you. And he is never wrong. You are
Can we stay friends? I don't have packs, but I do have girlfriends.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, and that's the thing. I'm like a really good one-on-one friend.
Yeah, me
but
too.
The whole pack thing,
no,
creeps me out. And also I always show up with like rhinestones and inappropriate makeup, and they'll talk about me behind my back.
And then you always swear or do something really bad or spill somebody's drink. I do that.
Exactly.
I do all that stuff. All of it. Yeah, I'm always that. Yeah.
So
anyway, thank you.
I think
so
we've
much.
solved the world pretty much and cleared the pathway for women.
In
all genres.
You know, women should not be afraid of anything. I really think that it really, we are moving toward more of a centrally kind of non-gender world than we ever have had.
We don't need to ask permission. We just need to do it.
And you do not need to accept the rules and regulations that were already existing. You do not need to accept that. There's no reason to, you know.
Love it.
Yeah.
And do a public domain book, guys.
Yeah, do them. They are really, there are some fab, and it doesn't matter if there are 10 versions of that book out there, yours will be yours.
Exactly, because you're not competing against those 10 versions. You're doing it for yourself.
You're doing it for yourself. And if you have something new to do, you know, do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah. Anyway,
thank you. It's been a pure joy. I hope you have a fabulous week. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll see you on the other side. Bye, Kitty. Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Keep in touch. Bye.
Come on, everybody, tap along. First you scrub-a-dub, then you tap and rub. You might have to yell when you hear the bell ring out loud and long. Oh, everybody scrub along and play. Tap that old